If you follow the path of Asatru, it's going to fail you. Today we're going to talk about why. Hey there, you beautiful heathen. Welcome to Iowa's Initiations. I'm your host, Matt Sargent. If you want to honor the land, connect with your ancestors, and witness the gods all-will-saving Midgard, you're in the right place. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turn on that bell notification. That way you don't miss a future episode. Today we're going to be talking about how following the path of Asatru can have detrimental effects on your örlog. Before we get into that though, I want to ask, how do you define your practice? Do you define yourself as Asatru? Do you consider yourself a heathen? Leave a comment and let me know where you're at with this. Before we really begin, we first need to define what Asatru is. True to the Æsir. And the Æsir are the main branch of deities in the northern pantheon, the Germanic pantheon. They're the beings of Asgard. And they're an important part of all heathen traditions, in my opinion. By devoting yourself to primarily the Æsir, you're going to start to mimic their behaviors. And you have to remember, in the lore, the Æsir, they built walls and they separated themselves from the rest of the realms. They consider themselves to be higher beings than the rest of the realms. And if you really work with just the Æsir, just devote your energies to them, you will start to mimic that behavior and kind of isolate yourself from the rest of the world. And that, to a certain degree, will have a negative effect on your örlog, your weird, by disconnecting you from the web itself, because there is so much more in this world than just the high-minded focus of the Æsir, and it disconnects you from the natural world, and that leads to all sorts of negative consequences. A lot of the climactic issues we are facing with today are because people are no longer connected to nature and see humans as separate than nature, whereas it's still all interconnected. And so when you lose that connection, that's when we get into some problems, and that can have negative consequences. The second primary reason that I say the path of Asatru can have dire consequences on your örlog and how that manifests in your life is the Æsir turned their back on their ancestors. And our ancestors are very important, but all the Æsir were either of Jotun or Æten lineage themselves, or were half Jotun or Æten. And in some instances, Odin, Vili, and Vi are a prime example. They even murdered their ancestors. And that's the complete opposite of venerating and honoring your ancestors. And to commit such a negative deed is going to have long-lasting consequences. Well, it's true that we can honor our ancestors for the good that they did and kind of forgive them for the evil that they did. Something such as patricide, that's going to stick around for a long time, and it's really heavy, and it's really going to taint your energy. So by dedicating yourself to these people that turn their backs on their ancestry, you're taking on that energy yourself. So I recommend in your practice, in your heathen practice, to embrace all of the beings in the lore. By opening up your practice and honoring the Vanir and the giants, that brings more balance to your practice and will bring more positive energy by being balanced instead of carrying that potential negativity that the Æsir are carrying in their own örlog. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. Does it make any sense? Do you have any different thoughts on how you might define yourself? Are you now considering to maybe worship some of the Jotun, or at least honor them, because they can be very powerful allies?